All right, Larry, let's do this again.
Okay, all right.
Hey, we've had so much going on with this COVID stuff, and then now the riots here in Atlanta. 4th of July, we had stuff going on in Stone Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
We just recently had a little child got shot and killed here in Atlanta. And I know it's just has really stirred your heart, and I know that you've got a message that you want to share with the black community.
Yeah.
And but, what do you got to share with us, Larry?
Okay. Well, first of all, definitely for the black community, because I feel the black community is now being used as a tool, and of course this Black Lives Matter thing is just something to kind of get them sucked in there, to kind of bring them in, to kind of get them all shook up and everything. But the thing is this: the question I like to ask the black community: why would a man come from the north? A young man, say back in the 18th century, would come from the north. He will march down here. He will die. He will see his friends die. He will get wounded. He'll bleed to free you. And what kind of appreciation would you show back? Because see, we didn't free ourselves as slaves. God raised up white men to fight white men to free us. So why is it that we can't recognize that and appreciate that? What it is about us as a people that we becoming very unappreciative. The only people we can be appreciative to is the Democratic Party, and that's our problem. I think the Democratic Party has always been our enemy, but we don't know it. And now, if you just look around, you can see all this stuff that's going on, everything that's going on. It seems to be an agenda here, and that agenda seems to be against America, to take America down. And I just want to say, I don't care where you go, what you do in this world, or where you go in this world, you're never going to find a country like this one. You're never going to have the opportunities that you have here unless you destroy those opportunities with this thing called Black Lives Matter. And again, this Black Lives Matter thing, it irritates me. I'm riding up the road everywhere I look at Black Lives Matter sign. Let me tell you something. That's the most divisive thing that anybody can say right now. We need to come together as a people in America. We need to be one people in America. That's the only thing that's going to protect us. But what we do, we follow something called Black Lives Matter. Not Black Lives Matter 2, but Black Lives Matter. The reality of it is Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Blue Lives, all lives matter. And for us to do that is showing not just bigotry, but we're also showing ignorance as well as just stone devices. Now, I would like to say the people that created that, their intent was to do that. That's what the ladies that started this thing, it was 3 young ladies that started this thing, 3 lesbians. And their whole thing was they're Marxists. You know, Marxists, that means they're communists basically. And they're also liberation theology. These people are everything that's anti-American. America got this, first of all, America's gotten this far because of our faith. And that's one of the first things we got to understand something. A lot of this stuff is happening that I probably didn't say anything about last time, but a lot of this stuff that's happening is because we have thrown Jesus out the back door. We ain't gonna make it without Christ, y'all. The Constitution, the laws, everything we got was built up to work along with believers. We have to be believers. Well, that's been sort of thrown out the door. But what bothers me a lot about this is my white friends. I work around people that are white, that don't know how to feel, don't know how to act, because there's something out there called white guilt. And black people stop being used to try to make other people feel bad. We got to get above this thing. We got to go over the things that's been happening, and kind of get a hold of what's happening here. But you're being deceived. The whole thing is this is what it's about. They need you to stir up the trouble. So they use Black Lives Matter to get you all excited and out of control. But the point is, you got to just wake up and listen and look at this thing. And you know, when I think about the football players, the baseball players, the basketball players, the guys that's making so many millions of dollars, more money than we'll ever see. And what do? They take that money and they put it in the bank, let it grow, they get rich, and they get so beside themselves that when they stand before that flag and get on their knee and ignore the flag. Let me explain something to you about that flag. Them same people that came from the north, that came down here and made it so that you can be a free man to make all that money you're making, those same people flew that flag. The flag, to me, the flag, the Constitution, as well as the law. It all work hand in hand. And if you violate one, you're violating all of them. So when a policeman, if you say a policeman go out there and kill somebody illegally, guess what? He's violating all the law. So why should you turn against the flag? The flag has nothing to do with that. It's designed that way. You've been deceived thinking that's what you're doing, but the reality is these people are using you because they want to overthrow America. They've always been there. They've always been there ready to overthrow America. See, my greatest fear has always been that one day the terrorists, the Islamic terrorists, was going to walk across our country, walk across the border and get in this country. And one day, when we're having problems, things get down, and they're going to show their head and begin to terrorize. I said, but it's not them, it's us. Everybody that's doing this stuff is all American citizens, born and bred here, but they never appreciated what the country's about. It's one thing to be born here, but to appreciate it. You know, I used to say something, it sounded kind of racial when I said it, so please, if it sounds racist, forgive me. But I used to always say, maybe we need to load a bunch of people up and take them to Mexico and just bring a load of Mexicans back, because they seem to show a lot of appreciation for this country that we don't show, because we've been spoiled. It's been so nice to have this country, and now we sitting around. Most of these white kids with a TFIS and with Black Lives Matter, most of those white kids have come from great, really strong, homes where they was very secure. But you see, anybody that has had to struggle for a living, anybody that have to go out there and work, they will appreciate this country. But the ones that was spoiled and brought up, and another thing too, and this is something really important, we got to figure out what we're going to do with higher learning institutions, because that's your problem right there. You got professors in there that got a plan to change your child from what you train your child to be what they want them to be. And so my thing is this: first of all, God's missing, but black people, wake up and look and listen to what's going on around you. Listen real closely, and don't follow. How is it so dumb that the whole NFL go and follow one man that couldn't even make it as a quarterback? He fanned out. He just lost it as a quarterback, and now he's leading you guys by the nose to believe in something because he's a leftist. He have become a Marxist, and you followed him. And he using that to turn this whole country around. I cannot turn on the sports show. I can't turn on the TV nowhere without me seeing Black Lives Matter. Oh, it's a good thing. No, it's not a good thing. And I'm just not pleased with you using that word black, because I'm supposed to be black. And it makes us all look like something is going on with us. And what's going on with us? We're being deceived to be used to help do what they're doing to turn this thing over. Sure, we was held as slaves and all that stuff, but you better get a hold of why we was held as slaves. Because you see, the white man didn't come into Africa and bring us out of Africa. Okay, you better understand what's going on there. The reason, see, it's another thing. We embrace Islam. We embrace this thing, but Islam, they were the big slavers. They were the one that started the wars between the tribes and took the slaves. So wake up, people. Stop looking. Your anger at the white man is just unjustified. And ain't no white man today had anything to do with slavery. That's a lie today. And it's time we learn to forgive and forget. You know, I can still remember somebody telling me the story about Frederick Douglass speaking to, after the war, preaching to a crowd of former slaves. And he told them, if you want to be free in America, this is what you got to do. You got to go and find your former master, and you got to look him in the eye and tell him you forgive him. And then he said, after that over, then you got to turn around and ask him to forgive you. Well, the slaves got kind of curious. They want to know, whoa, why should we ask for forgiveness from him? We ain't did nothing to him. He said, because you got animosity in your heart against this man because he enslaved you. He said, if you leave with that animosity, if you leave without asking for forgiveness, he said, do you know what's going to happen? Do you understand that you will never be free in America? You will become then the slave of anger. And that's what it's, to me, that looked like just what happened. They said, and at the end of that writing letter, he said he feared they wouldn't do it. And it looked just like they didn't do it. All this anger, where's it coming from? Where is it there? Young men should be out working, should be learning how to make it. It blows my mind, man. It almost breaks my heart when I work with a bunch of young ladies that work in the wash bay, and these young ladies, some of them ain't even 20 years old yet, and they got a couple of kids, don't know who the father is. Black people, we are our problem. Nobody kill more blacks than we do. And the whole thing about it, if you just erase the blacks that get killed by the blacks, and then look at how many blacks the cops killed. Do you know that the blacks kill more whites than they do cops? The cops kill more whites than they do black. Because you've been deceived. They're making you think that they want you to think that the police are walking around planning on ways to shoot black people. That's not true. I heard one of the ladies from Black Lives talking, and my heart went out for her because she's crazy. She is so paranoid towards white policemen that she is believing that they can take her out any minute. We don't need to follow Black Lives Matter. Let me tell you something, black people. Listen to my heart. I read some stories about brothers and sisters in slavery that was praying for deliverance. They prayed to God. They cried out to God. How many of you people know that if a man is in slavery, he's very much humble? He's a very humble man. And he cried out to God in that humbleness and sincerity. And guess what? God answered that prayer. He raised up white men to fight white men, to free us. We got free. And to me, one of the greatest generation of black people was the ones that was right after slavery. Because they knew what they had to deal with, and they worked it through, and they came through. And then they came through to it finally led to a guy by the name of Martin Luther King who put his life on the line. So guess what? We're now equal. There's no rights that the white men have you don't have. So there's no reason for you to walk around stirring up trouble or saying this and that. Everything you look on the rock is a racism. Come on, people, wake up. You have no idea about racism. And guess what? If a guy's a racist, that's his mind. That's the way he think. Ain't but one way you can change it is by probably changing the way you act. So I just want to say these things and get them off my mind this morning, off my heart this morning, because all this stuff that's going on, and it's really bothering me that we as black people have to always be used by the wrong people. But the Democratic Party, y'all, I'm telling you, you need to think about doing something with them, because they are your problem. They've always been your enemy, and they're going to always continue to be your enemy. Thank you for letting me talk with you this morning.